Computer, set a heading for the Romulan neutral zone.
Are you sure about this?
Yes? And while I head to my probable doom, I present to Noah in the next episode. We'll always have Paris. We start with Picard dropping his log. They're going to Serona 8 for shore leave, and until then, Picard is fencing. The lieutenant facing him gets a point, and then just holds his arm up to let the captain win before ass-kissing about Picard's technique. When the universe glitches, and they rewind a few seconds. They repeat the actions and words, even though they are aware of the repeat. On the bridge, Data says the computers were affected, so it was not an illusion. Worf then receives an emergency transmission from the Pegasus Minor system, sent by a Dr. Paul Mannheim. They set coordinates and warp to the epic titles. Crosby is still credited, by the way, and will be for the rest of the first season. When we come back, they exposit on Mannheim as a scientist that worked on time-related theories, including one with gravity, and he and his team disappeared 15 years ago. Troy wants Picard to reflect on his emotional state, and Picard blows her off to fence some more. But then he finds himself alone in the turbolift, as soft, reflective music plays. So he goes to Holodeck 3. He loads the Artist's Cafe in Paris, 22 years ago, named after the real-life Café des Artistes in New York. Whatever he's going to resolve, he knows the date and exact time he was there. That's not obsessive at all. There's a view of the Eiffel Tower on a faded matte painting, a guy in a Skype booth, and a dude rubbing plastic bongs and making music somehow. Picard stares at the view and reflects, while the digital waiter acts like a nosy shrink. We learn Picard had a date here that he flaked out on. He obviously has deeply regretted it since, so I'm calling it. He chickened out. Coward. There's even a blonde that reminds Picard of her, waiting at a table and lamenting being stood up. Okay, that's a big coincidence considering he started this program with nothing but a time and a place. Picard sheepishly offers that maybe her date was afraid, proving my point that fighting Cardassians is easier than asking a girl out to prom. Picard shakes himself out of the self-indulgence and exits. Aren't you going to end program? The Enterprise arrives at the coordinates to find nothing but a new set of coordinates, as it was sent on a relay system. The new destination is in the Vendor system, a binary system with a giant star and a pulsar. Pulsars are the spinning remnants of a collapsed supergiant star that shoots cosmically large gamma streams from their poles at anything in their way. Not a good place to go to, but okay. And the way they show it makes it look like it's a few systems over, not in this one, but again, okay. Arriving, they make contact with a woman who says it's just her and the doctor left, and they need help. And, like always, they can't just beam them up. You get an energy field, and you get an energy field. Look under your chairs. But at least this time they get them to shut off the energy field and beam them up to sickbay, where Dr. Mannheim is convulsing. Crusher sets to him when Picard walks in, and of course this woman they beamed aboard is the exact woman he stood up years ago. In fact, he expected it, and this has been the cause of his mood. So we can assume he knew she went with Mannheim 15 years ago. I love how Riker is just like, whoa, in the background, and Data is like, fascinating. Picard introduces her as Janice Mannheim. Ooh, the plot thickens. She says the rest of the team died in an accident, and she doesn't know what happened. Apparently her hubby discovered the multiverse, and is locked by time, or something. And not dimensional planes, but whatever. However he is opening these multiversal windows is what's causing time ripples light years away. Whatever killed the team and is killing her man, Janice was protected from, because Mannheim kept her in a safety room. She starts waxing reflective poetic with Picard as Crusher enters in the background, just in time to get jealous. Picard, Data, and Riker enter the turbolift, just for time to rewind, and they watch themselves trying to enter the turbolift. Even though before, they just rewound themselves, now there's duplicates, and Picard is talking to himself. They exposit that the second lab on the planet is destroyed, and there's an immense amount of energy in the planet underneath the first lab, and Data believes Mannheim is harvesting energy from the pulsar. They need more information to stop the Mannheim effect, so Riker, Data, and Worf beam down to the lab, but something's up, and they aren't going through. The transporter chief of the week is losing them, and Picard orders them brought back up. Whoa!
You are being hailed.
No shit, on screen. Trespassing in Romulan space is punishable by death. This is starting off great. When we come back, Edward from Twilight beams the crew back, and Mannheim is awake. He's erratic and intense, but he swears it was all worth it. He touched another dimension, and he says part of him is still there. He's also having difficulty discerning which dimension he is in, and his mind is fracturing. He tells them where to beam into the complex and gives them security codes so they can get through. Data believes they can seal the rift, but they have to time it with a Mannheim event. In the meantime, Janice goes to see Picard, and things get emotional. He admits he was afraid, and she gets him to joke that he got the days and cafe wrong. She says she waited all day in the rain for him. She went to the academy even, but he had shipped out. Damn, my man's ran hard. It turns out Picard was stuck in a choice between her and his career, and since he isn't riding her around the galaxy, we know what happened. But both have thought about each other since, every day. This is his one that got away, and both actors look like they are simultaneously holding back smiles, tears, and the urge to ravage each other. I gotta give it to him. Back with the Doctor, and the girls have a classic Troy scene, where what is already obvious or stated gets spelled out again. Then Mannheim asks for Picard, asking him to take care of his wife for him, reflecting he has been a crummy hubby. Using Mannheim's coordinates, they beam Data back to the same spot. Alone this time for safety reasons. Oh look, lasers! Data's a master at the duck, cover, phaser, roll, and phaser technique against random lasers, though. Data says the next event is in 90 seconds. He wants to add antimatter to the system to plug the hole. When the effect hits and the dimensions are aligned, he has to act. Somehow. It's all really vague and technobabbly. The effect hits, and there's 3 Datas, but only one of them is in the correct time continuum to drop the antimatter. So which one? The middle says it's him somehow for some reason, but all 3 of them plug the rift. Maybe it just appeared so as the correct one did it and time realigned. Sounds like some lucky bullshit though. But what do you expect when this subplot is such an afterthought? This somehow cures Mannheim, and not just ends his affliction but completely reverses the damage. He babbles about the other dimension and asks about his lab. He and his wife embrace, and then Troy takes her to say goodbye to Picard at the cafe in Paris on Holodeck 3. It's tender and offers closure to Picard, who goes to the bridge after to set warp for shore leave. End credits. Engage. This episode was alright. It wasn't the strongest and had some issues, mostly with the aforementioned afterthought of a subplot, but it was done in service of the emotional backstory and foundation for Picard, and was, for me, a nice diversion. Real time. We'll Always Have Paris, originally airing on May 2nd, 1988, marks one of the early explorations of Captain Picard's backstory and personal vulnerabilities, with the introduction of a former romantic relationship. The episode delves into themes of love, regret, and the passage of time, with a sci-fi twist in the form of temporal anomalies. The title itself is a nod to the classic 1942 film Casablanca, invoking nostalgia, romance, and unresolved past connections. The episode also focused on themes of missed opportunities, the impertinence of time, and the tension between duty and personal desire. Picard's character, often portrayed as stoic and deeply dedicated to his role as captain, is shown to have a complex emotional past. This episode is significant as it humanizes Picard, revealing his regrets and how his choice of career impacted his personal life. The use of time distortions as a plot device ties into the theme of revisiting the past, showing how certain moments of time can loop back, haunting and/or influencing us. The temporal disturbances that mirror events symbolize how certain life decisions leave an imprint on time itself. Just as time loops cause the crew to relive certain moments in the episode, Picard is forced to relive his emotional conflict with Janice. This episode is a standout for Stewart, offering him a chance to showcase a more emotional side of Picard, which was relatively rare during the first season. Stewart's theater background allowed him to bring a depth and gravitas to Picard's conflict. Michelle Phillips, who played Janice Mannheim, was known for her role as a singer in The Mamas and the Papas. No longer California Dreamin', Phillips brings a sense of grace and poise to the character. Though not a prolific actress, her performance was noted for its chemistry with Stewart, and the sense of unresolved longing she portrayed. Rod Loomis, as Dr. Paul Mannheim, brought a certain eccentricity to the role, playing the scientist whose obsession with time experiments almost results in a disaster. His character provides a counterpoint to Picard's emotional journey. Whereas Picard has let go of the past, Mannheim is literally tampering with it. The episode was directed by Robert Becker, a director known for his television work in the 1980s. The script was written by Deborah Dean Davis and Hannah Louise Shear. The production team faced the typical first-season challenges, as the show was still finding its footing and was very limited. The episode's Paris flashback sequences were eliminated due to budget constraints, leading to the brief yet poignant scenes of Picard and Janice's past being remembered and implied rather than shown in grand settings. One key aspect of the production involved the creation of the visual effects for the temporal disturbances. As with many early Next Generation episodes, the effects were crafted using practical methods, like models and composite shots, which were cutting edge for the time. The scene where Picard and the crew experienced temporal loops, seeing multiple versions of themselves in the corridors of the Enterprise, was a standout for its time. Achieving this effect involved precise timing and choreography, as the actors had to hit their marks perfectly while interacting with their past and future selves. We'll Always Have Paris received mixed reviews when it first aired. Some critics found the pacing uneven, and the science fiction aspect of the plot somewhat overshadowed by the romantic storyline. However, for fans of the series, the episode remains a key moment in understanding Picard's character, especially given that his complex emotions and sense of duty versus personal life would be further explored in future episodes and films like Generations and Insurrection. The episode also laid the groundwork for other explorations of time and space anomalies that became common in the series, such as in the celebrated episode Cause and Effect, and is notable for its exploration of character over plot. With a mix of romance, nostalgia, and science fiction, it offers a thoughtful meditation on how time, both literal and metaphorical, impacts our lives and relationships. Though not remembered as one of the show's top-tier episodes, it remains important for adding emotional depth to Captain Picard's journey and for pushing the boundaries of what the show could explore. So yeah, fuck the Feds and their little admiral too. Finally, someone that talks a little sense around here. Can I count on you guys to back me up in the Terran sector? And he's inviting us to the party. BYOB, bring your own blasters. Haha, alright, yeah. Also, I'ma need a cloak. Done. And that doomsday weapon y'all been working on. What doomsday? I don't know what you're talking about, guy.